tell me, when did you first discover a love for, like, you know, canoeing, water sports, any type of sport?
I guess I've always been active. I guess weirdly, canoeing was actually probably one of the first proper sports I started. I started when I was 5, I was nearly 6. But my older brother was just a little bit of one of those kids that had a bit too much energy and was directed towards doing some sport to try and use up some energy. So we went to the local leisure centre, wasn't really anything there, but right next door is the canoe club. And they had barbecue, all the boats out, just like a come and try it kind of day. And it was complete fluke that we happened to be there that day. And we like went down, got chatting, and me and my older brother and my little brother, but he was 3 at the time, so he didn't really take to it. It was a bit scary for him. But we like went and literally been paddling ever since. And I think I was always active anyway, but then throughout the whole of school, I did pretty much every sport I could and I was allowed to do. Like I was on the netball teams, didn't turn up to training, but
you did the matches.
Yeah, I just like canoeing kind of had taken over at that point even. But because I think it was my first love of like doing it, and it was something that my family did, and I think that kind of caused it to grow a little bit.
Did you have a goal in mind to work to start competing professionally?
So I guess it wasn't really like a clear step so much. Within like our teams, you have like your like junior team, like the national team that travels to the championships, and it was like I was always kind of aware that I think my brother being a couple of years older kind of hit that hit trying to make the team earlier. Sure. So when I was still 2 years off being able to, we were going to selection, and I was racing selection whilst not being eligible. So I'd race as part of the race, but I couldn't actually be selected even if I made the team.
What age were you then? Sorry, what age would that be?
So I'd have been 13, 14.
Okay, right. And then so you were able to make selection when you were 16?
Yeah, so it's the year you turn 16, so the first year you're eligible. So yeah, so I'd have been 13, 14 would be the 2 years that I kind of raced when I wasn't actually eligible. And I think that when I started doing that, although I wasn't actually able to make the team, it was like still that point of trying to. And that was probably like stepping towards that. But it's quite, slalom's, I'd say, a little bit of a funny one, because almost everyone at every point is like just trying to get better. And where those like goalposts ends up being to where you're trying to get to kind of naturally just merge into the next step. Like when I was racing selection, it was like, well, I did want to make the junior team, but I was still very young, and like it was like, okay, well, I'm just trying to get better at being able to put a full run together or whatever, and trying to be the best that I could be. And then it was like got to the age of being able to make the team. I actually didn't, but and then kind of C1, I benefited a lot from C1, the class that I'm going to the games in. Kind of happened to appear at that same time. And the first year, I think it was the first year I'd have been eligible, happened to be when C1 had a repechage, so I raced selection and didn't do very well. And then they had an extra event they put on to see if there was any C1 women that would make the team for the Senior Worlds.
Okay.
And I'd happened to be quite lucky in that the upbringing that I'd had in canoeing was very much like just do everything. I like did C1, I did kayak, I did like the play boating, which is like short plastic boats and just like literally playing on the water. And I'd like done so much that then when this opportunity came to like just see, and I was actually already planning on racing it. So I was like, oh, well, I'll see. And like, I made that team, and that was kind of like suddenly thrown into a situation as a 16-year-old, as it was, of like traveling with the senior, like being out with the senior team at the Senior Worlds. And I think then being absorbed in that kind of shifts your mindset straight away.
Totally would do.
Yeah. And it suddenly became, although it was a bit funny, I was very out of place in that, because the next person age-wise, I think, was 7-8 years older than me or so. So I was like very out of place, and I, as a quite quiet and introverted person anyway, it was not a comfortable place to be. But you suddenly like see what it is, and it's like, oh, I can have that. And then that helps shape it, and that's probably kind of always how it's been. And then I think when I kind of got a bit older in the last few years, it's definitely been a lot more of like just chasing the like infinite of like trying to be a lot better than everyone else, even if I'm as good as them, trying to keep chasing for that extra bit to put it even further. So to try and come to the races and win by loads rather than just win.
Yeah.